There's a lot of very dedicated people.
I think you just hinted at one of the easiest analogies. Who's at the table?
Like my dad said, log and always be worth more than you're being paid.
We're gonna have 30,000 more people here in the next 10, 12 years.
I am optimistic that we'll continue moving in the right direction.
And that takes finding people that wake up every day and they're thankful and they believe they can change the world.
This BendBeat discussion is brought to you by the Lad Group, Ben's leading real estate team.
Well, John, I'm excited to have you here today.
Thanks. Excited to be here.
Thanks for coming over.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're in the Arrett building. You were just on the back side doing Stretch Lab.
That's right. That's right.
How Bend of you. Official Bend citizen. You're at I need to go check that out. Well, so I'm joined here by John Merriman. You're the CEO of Mount Bachelor, right?
That's right.
And so you oversee one of the most iconic Pacific Northwest ski resorts, and the role of Mount Bachelor within our community is big.
Yeah.
You know, for good or for bad, Bend citizens like to see it as their mountain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, it's integral into the story of what our community is. So I thought we could have some fun with kind of discussions about what brought you here and you know, the role of Mount Bachelor within our community.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So let's start with you.
Yep.
You came here for the job with Mount Bachelor,
That's right.
But you were involved with Powder Corp back in Colorado.
That's right.
Yeah, can you give me a little kind of short history on that? Because I know you have a long history with, you know, you studied environmental science back at, was that University of Vermont?
No, I went to, well, I bounced around colleges.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I bounced around colleges. I actually was a finance major.
Okay.
Yeah, when all is said and done, and I graduated from Metro State in Denver.
Okay.
And then I got my master's at University of Denver.
Okay, I don't know where I came up with that.
I don't know, but that sounds like a great background.
Well, it sounds fun. We'll give it to somebody else, maybe. Okay, but so you were finance involved with Powder Corp in that role.
Yeah,
and that was
so
Copper Mountain, right?
At Copper Mountain, yeah, because coming out of college, I was in finance for telecom.
Okay.
And was in that for 16 years, and then you know, took a real interest in culture.
Okay.
And also quality of life, more so than chasing the almighty dollar anymore.
Yeah.
And so I just randomly saw that Copper Mountain was hiring a CFO.
Yeah.
And so I applied for that on LinkedIn and happened to get it. And from there, kind of just, you know, took a big interest in the industry itself, and you know, took on more and more responsibility until it made sense when, you know, something opened up here for me to take that over. Which was
so
great.
you took over operations at Mount Bachelor when? Was that a couple years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And you had to step into kind of not volatile, but a variable situation in the sense that at that time Powder Corp was interested in selling the resort, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there were whispers throughout the industry or whatever, but you know, and we had discussions on whether that was going to happen, and at the time, they weren't.
Yep.
Going to be selling, but soon thereafter, they kind of decided that that's what they wanted to do. So yeah, it kind of created, you know, a whole big other, you know, so not only starting in a new place with all kinds of new people and meeting all kinds of new people in a town, didn't really know anybody, but then to be like, okay, and now we're going to be hosting all kinds of people out here because we're going to be for sale. So that was unique for sure.
Okay, well, we can get more to that.
Sure.
I'd like to come back to that a little bit, but like, what was, when you first approached Mount Bachelor in Bend and you saw it through the eyes of Colorado, you know, I came from Colorado as well. What was the primary difference you saw between, like, let's say Summit County or Copper Mountain or whatnot, and how people approach their resorts compared to what we have here in Central Oregon?
That's a great question. And you know, when I really put a lot of thought into it, it is different and it is unique. And, you know, everyone says they're different and everyone says that they're unique, right? And, you know, I could pick out every ski mountain and kind of point out one unique thing with it. But what I will say about this is it's the people and the community that make Bachelor what it is.
Yeah.
It really is, because in Summit County, it's great. I mean, between, you know, Summit and Eagle County, there's 7, you know, ski mountains within 20 miles of each other.
Yep.
And it's very competitive. But you also have Denver, and you have a lot of destination people coming in,
Yeah.
to ski there. And it's far busier.
Yep.
Far busier there. A winter Saturday there is, even though we can be busy on Saturdays for sure, it's nothing like it was in Summit County, kind of like, the ski mecca. But you get kind of lost in the shuffle because having 7 resorts, you don't get the personal touch, that I think we can provide here.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know a lot of our guests when I was at Copper because it was just so spread out. And, you're drawing from 3 million people in Denver plus everyone else visiting in.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's like most of our 100-day clubs I've talked to.
Yep.
Or I see there on a frequent basis.
Yep.
I know a ton of our guests by name.
If you go into line at the setup at 8:30, you're going to see the same faces every day.
I will, and they'll always say hello to me, and it's great. And and like I said, I know a lot of them by name now, and so
there's accountability with that, right?
There is, and it certainly can be double-edged here and there, but I think that mostly is a positive thing.
Yeah.
But the big difference between there and here is it's much more personal here.
Yeah.
And people have that ownership. The only other mountain I think where I lived where it was somewhat close would be Arapahoe Basin.
Yeah,
A Basin.
absolutely.
I think I've talked to you about that. But, A Basin is a locals mountain.
Yeah.
And they really have done a good job of focusing on what they're really good at.
Yeah.
And, when I was coming to Bend, I was like, Bachelor is not A Basin, but there are certain things that A Basin does, especially for their local community, that I want to learn from.
Yeah, they've got they definitely have a very tangible culture built around A Basin.
Right.
It always very much stood apart from all the other Central Oregon or Colorado resorts. But to any of those, we could speak on any of those points. But so I was born and raised in Colorado, grew up skiing all those ski areas. And the ski areas in the 70s and 80s, I still have this vision that it was that. And every once in a while I go back and without throwing Colorado under the bus, it's cooked.
Yeah, it really is.
And every time I find myself complaining about number of skiers or whatever, I go back and I travel and I'm like, oh man, we have it good. I'm going to go hike at Mount Bachelor again.
Right.
And the fact that you still get to have some local affinity to it, where it's not a blown out mega resort, it's still in kind of an interesting sweet spot where you fly the Bachelor flag and you're proud of it.
Yeah.
And the resource that we have here is absolutely incredible.
Right.
And I don't want to tell all of Colorado, but we've got better snow most of the time.
a lot of the time we do. And our secret sauce here too is Bend.
Yeah.
And Central Oregon in general, because I don't want to exclude Sun River out of that or anything, but it's what attracted me to it. When the CEO called me and said, we've got an open GM position, we'd love to see you in it. And I'm like, okay. I had been here before, one other time, and it was in April or May of 2019, I believe. And we skied and golfed on the same day. Yeah. And I'm like, that is incredible.
Yep.
And the fact that we get very little snow here in Bend, and all that we can do with 25 minutes away, to me is so special.
Yep.
It really is.
It's incredible. So I moved here from Steamboat, and when we were in winter, whether you're at the resort or at your house. If we had 20 feet of snow at my house the last winter, and it's tough living.
It really is.
And I think geographically and environmentally, I think that's always been a really fun, unique thing about this situation. But likewise, I think what I like about it is that the fact that we can call it our home mountain.
Right.
There's not many places you get to do that. And while we have influx of tourists, when you compare it to the scale of any other giant resort, we're just a small fraction of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we still 75% of our visitations from people who live right here.
Yep. And so are they your primary clientele when you focus on a daily basis and say, Mount Bachelor is here to serve?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. But it still will attract some destination skiers, which we want. I don't want to blow it out with destination skiers, but people coming to visit want a unique experience that the locals will experience, especially in cool places like Bend and Bachelor. And to have people be able to come up, and we're designing and thinking about the resort from inside out perspective. We are always thinking about our locals first. It's something that since I've started, I wanted to really focus on.
Yeah.
I'm not from here, but I get it. You know, I have certain, I have affinity.
Yeah.
I think of it like, I grew up in New England.
Yeah.
And so I am a huge fan of the Boston Red Sox and have been since I was a kid. And, everything that they do, they're doing for themselves as a business, but they also have to consider their local community too, right? Because, we're their bread and butter.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing on the mountain because, if I just put all of our resources towards attracting destination and we lose our base, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We can't do that. We need to find that balance of both.
Yeah, and it's important. So, what's next? Is it sustainability? It's local engagement. What's your next chapter?
Yeah, so it has to be local engagement.
Okay.
And community involvement, because we can't do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Powder is expecting us to grow, and we should.
Yeah.
We're a business, and so we definitely need to grow, not too fast.
Yep.
But we want to grow responsibly, and we want to be environmentally conscious while we're doing it. We're building the biomass wood energy facility that should be complete at the end of this fall, but operational at the end of next fall.
Yep.
That's going to be really exciting for us to really reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, which is awesome. But then from there, we've upgraded our power. Well, we're in the process of upgrading our power, as we had announced, and that's a huge project for us. But it sets us up for being a little more modern.
Yeah.
And being able to upgrade our lifts, being able to, Sunrise area needs more seats for food and beverage. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And so we're going to need to do a building over there, and but all of this stuff we want to do responsibly, I should say. And so, the only way we're going to grow to where we need to grow is with community involvement. And so, I spent the first year kind of my job looking at it internally and what's our culture like?
Yep.
And do we have the right culture? Do we have the right people? Do we have the right attitudes?
Yeah.
Right? Is everyone there for the right reasons?
Yeah.
And to me, it's just because you love the lifestyle, right? And so I think we're doing well with that. We're not perfect, but we're doing well and we're making good progress. And then it's focusing externally, and it's working with hotels and hotel partners, and Visit Bend and Visit Central Oregon and Bend Chamber, and trying to really work a little bit externally. And so my job will kind of shift, as we go to form more local partnerships and figuring out how we can make all boats rise.
Yeah.
I can give you an example where it's a lot of times ski resorts and hotels, they're always ticky-tack with each other. It's well, I'm going to sell this for you and you're going to pay me a commission, and then you're going to sell this for me and you're going to pay a commission. We're going to have all this billing back and forth. And I'm when I meet with future hotel partners or potential partners that we have, it's can we just not talk about commissions and not do them?
Yeah.
Understand that I'm here to help you and you're also here to help me. And let's figure out how we can do that. And then all ships will rise, and we don't have that contentious between us. And it doesn't feel transactional. It feels like people helping people.
Well, that's the core of our community.
Right.
And it's interesting to hear you say that. And that's really probably where the ethos were in the 1950s when this started, right?
Right. And it's trying to get back, because I want us to grow, but I want us to grow in the right ways. And it's not by nickel and diming everybody.
Yeah.
Brian Ladd here. I appreciate you listening. This BendBeat podcast is proudly produced and brought to you by the Ladd Group at Cascade Hassan Sotheby's International Realty. We at the Ladd Group believe that real estate is more than just homes. It's about our community. We're deeply committed to making Bend a better place, and we dedicate ourselves to serving our home buyers and our home sellers at the absolute highest levels of our industry. You can learn more at bendpropertysource.com, or you can always give us a call. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Ski areas can be both loved and critiqued, right? Mm-hmm. And, especially when you have such a loyal fan base that say, Mount Bachelor's mine. But what are some of the most common misunderstandings that, people might have about Mount Bachelor?
Sure. Well, the first one, let me clear up, is there was a rumor on the conditions page that the Skyliner lift was used from Sochi, and let me tell you, that's false. It was a brand new lift. But
okay,
no,
done.
No, but the I do think that it's around our lifts, and rightfully so. I think people are a little gun shy about lift operations at Bachelor, just based on what happened with the Skyliner, a few years ago.
Yep.
When the bull wheel broke.
Yep.
And that was tragic, honestly. I mean, it was. I would not want to go through that, and I feel for people who did.
Yeah.
But I will say that we want the lifts to be up and running just as much as everybody else. Yeah. And there's a common misconception out there that Powder doesn't invest in their lifts, and you're not investing in maintenance, and you're doing this for cost purposes. And I will tell you that. I can't speak for anything before I started, but I can speak for the fact that we probably do more lift maintenance projects than any other mountain our size. Right now we're replacing the gearbox on Summit.
Yeah.
We just replaced the gearbox on Little Pine. Those are big projects.
Yeah.
We just replaced the bull wheel bearings on Summit. And I mean, so we not only do what's recommended on our lifts, but we do more than what's recommended on our lifts. And we will have times when lifts break down. They are mechanical. They are a little older, so we're certainly, working on getting, a replacement plan over the next few years that we'll, hope to announce kind of as we go.
Great.
But we do put a ton of maintenance in, and the icing is a big issue.
It's real
on lifts, and it's not something like people can say, "Oh, I've been to Park City, I haven't seen this. I've been to Colorado, I haven't seen this." And I'm like, I agree. I hadn't either. I didn't even know what rime ice was until I moved here.
I mean, if you look at Summit House after a storm, I mean, you've got rime ice this thick, or the top couple towers at Northwest or whatnot. I mean, it's real. It's things I've never seen before.
And then we'll get commonly people will want to ski Northwest first thing in the morning after a storm. Of course, I do too. The common suggestion that I see is, well, you could start at midnight. The problem is the storm's usually still going on.
Yeah.
The wind's still going, the ice is still going. By the time we would finish it, we just have to do it again.
It's a cycle.
So, I mean, our lift maintenance team is in at 5 o'clock every morning during the winter. And we are doing everything we can to safely get lifts open. And so, that's the one thing that if I could, have people understand is that, believe me, I get stressed out when lifts aren't open.
Yeah.
And I want them open. I mean, we're a ski area. I want people to have a great time and come out and ski with us. And, but there are times that we are going to be delayed for maintenance issues. And primarily it's due to weather.
Well, and I think you're speaking to probably a very small but maybe vocal minority about the Northwest crew. We want Northwest turning at 9 a.m.
Right.
But I think as far as kind of the general skier experience, they probably don't even know what we're talking about. But there's a passionate crew that wants to get out in those West Bulls first thing in the morning.
Right.
But personally, I don't mind sometimes when there's a delayed opening, kind of work your way across the mountain and you get to farm that powder throughout the morning. But so I guess, let's talk about, is there a memorable day or experience where you're saying, hey, our work matters, this is why I'm doing it? Do you have any kind of story, whether it's an organization like Oregon Adaptive Sports that you guys help support and provide space for, or is it, a specific employee, or, was there a moment in time where you're like, this is why I'm doing it?
Yes, actually there is. And I can think about it pretty clearly because we hosted the USCSA, which is like the College Club National Championships. This last winter, and we're about to sign a contract to do it every 2 years for the foreseeable future. And I'll never forget going to that opening ceremonies on an event that we hadn't done in many years, and it changed completely and we don't do a lot of ski racing, and so we were all a little nervous on how this is going to come together and everything. And I went to the opening ceremonies, and there was 800 college kids having the time of their lives.
Yeah.
And, I'm looking around at all of our employees, and, it takes all 1,100 of us to get that place going. But that was one of those days where it's like, we've got a big storm coming during this race, but, as we did the opening ceremonies, big storm comes, they have to move some events here and there. We did that all seamlessly while these people were just ripping pow.
Yeah.
While the storm is going on.
Yeah.
And then, a bunch of people from town come up too, because it was just such a gorgeous powder day, one of those days. And, of course I went out too. I try to every day, but just seeing the looks on everybody's faces. And we're hosting 800 college kids. The locals don't care that we're hosting 800 college kids. They're having a great time. The college kids are having a great time. And our team put something unusual together, to me, that we hadn't done before, and they figured it out, and they did such a great job with it.
Well, that's wonderful. I love the fact there's so many things that happen up at that mountain. And I mean, and you're trying to just run a business and sell enough lift tickets to, keep it all working, but it's integral into the bigger community and experience and economy of Central Oregon. I mean, it's an absolute mainstay pillar. As like, if we were to say, hey, how does Mount Bachelor play into the bigger conversations about tourism pressure or economic growth or housing? Like, how do you see that role? And, obviously you were talking about being collaborative with hotels and tourism organizations, things like that. I guess my question is ill-defined, but it's like, how do you see your role within the context of our region?
Yeah. So, I think I have a big responsibility. Yeah. Honestly, one of the, aside from St. Charles, we're the largest employer in Central Oregon.
Approximately how many direct employees?
We have 1,100.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we are the second biggest employer.
Yeah.
And I think it was important to me to get as involved in the community as I could, and not just on the tourism side. I'm involved on the tourism side too, but it was important for me to get involved in the Bend Chamber as well.
Yeah.
And other local organizations. My wife works for Mosaic.
Yeah. What an incredible organization.
It's great organization.
If anyone has time, learn more about Mosaic.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
No question. But it's important for us. It's important for me to be part of the conversation around housing. Yeah. And transportation. And, because I interact every day with ODOT, with the county, on roads. We've formed a partnership for a small employee housing, but, I can see that problem getting bigger. Yeah. As we know, real estate prices in Bend are still fairly strong. And, it's becoming harder and harder for, frontline employees to find places to live. And I think, we owe it to our employees to make sure that, we're advocating for them with local government as well.
Yep. Well, and there's a lot of things happening. And I, for those that are completely pessimistic about the housing situation in Central Oregon, I do ask for a little grace and encouragement to understand what's happening right now. There's some really big things happening with middle housing and subsidized housing and nonprofits that are trying to create, all those entry level, pieces of the ladder, rungs of the ladder, and it's getting better.
Right.
Rental prices are down 20% year over year. And I'm not saying everything's fixed. We have incredible amount of challenges, but all the things that have been talked about for the last 5-10 years, et cetera, are starting to come into play. And for the first time in many years, I see a case for optimism around housing.
It's great because it's not an easy problem to solve. No. And, we had it much more extreme in Summit County, Colorado when I lived there because, the housing there is significantly more expensive than here even. And, there has to be creative solutions. Yep. And there's a lot of push and pull and it takes time. Yep. And it's great that, we should continue working on it. And I understand the pessimism because, you want it to happen overnight. Yep. But, I agree with you. And I think there's a lot of smart people working on it.
Yeah, and it's a whole region response because the city of Bend can only control what's in the urban growth boundary of that, and then we've got Deschutes County, and then we've got the counties around here, and we've got Sun River Resorts, and so there's a lot of different players in that space. But I think there's some good progress being made on that. Is there one challenge right now that you're tackling from Mount Bachelor's perspective that you think will benefit the broader community, or one thing that is happening economically, otherwise, that you think that are going to be a long-term benefit for our community?
Yeah, I think there's really two things. I think, you and I have talked a lot about the recreational immunity.
The lawsuit bill, right?
Yes.
And has that passed, or is that
It is
still
not.
okay?
It is not.
So let's talk about that a little bit more.
Sure.
What is that?
Sure. So essentially, the recreational immunity bill will allow essentially, recreation, whether it be at Mount Bachelor or like Bend Parks and Rec or a Cog Wild, or any of these kind of places where you sign a waiver.
Yep.
So mountain biking, rafting, whatever.
Yep.
You sign a waiver for all of those. Essentially, there was a lawsuit back in 2014 that was actually the lawsuit ended up being settled between Mount Bachelor and the individual. But as part of it, the court had a ruling in there that basically said that the waiver doesn't really stand up towards ordinary negligence.
Ordinary negligence.
So not gross negligence. Gross negligence basically is, and I'm not an attorney, but here's my basic definition for it is gross negligence is something that the company did, they were aware of, ignored, and something happened.
And you rightfully feel that a waiver shouldn't cover that.
Should not cover that.
Absolutely.
Should not cover that.
And then with ordinary, though, when the waivers no longer cover ordinary liability or negligence, excuse me, what does that mean for organizations?
So like what that generally means is that if a minor mistake has happened, or if it's just an opinion on this was your fault, this was our fault, this was my fault, whatever, those type of things typically you could not do a lawsuit for. So if you think about a simple one, is it has been icy out, there was a big storm, and you went on an adventure and you stepped on a piece of ice and you fell. And there wasn't a sign there that says watch out for slippery ice, whatever. You would not be able to win a lawsuit
previously
on that one. But now.
And this endangers the economic viability of all these organizations that are engaging, especially
the smaller ones. So us as Mount Bachelor, is it going to endanger our business as a whole? Probably not. But are we going to spend money to enhance our mountain biking trails when that's not really a high revenue business for us, but there's a high risk? You're going to really weigh your risk versus reward on some of these things.
Providing new adventures, new activities on the mountains.
Exactly. But some of the smaller ones, I've heard of some of these smaller companies that they either can't get insurance or they can't stay in business because one lawsuit will wipe them out. Yeah.
So there's a bill that is introduced in Salem right now that hasn't passed that would have fixed that issue. Correct.
And it has been attempted a few times since 2014, and it seems to be getting further each time. But it got hung up in the Senate, and complicated stuff that kind of happened around the transportation bill and the immunity bill. But I'm still hopeful that at some point we'll codify that. We're the only state in the West that has this issue.
Okay.
And so, a lot of businesses are considering other states too. And there's insurance companies that are dropping out.
Yeah.
And, it really is an issue. And, I'm hopeful that it's going to get passed. But right now that's an issue that, we could use everyone advocating for. And then the second part that goes along with it, the political piece is around transportation.
Okay.
And no matter how you feel about the transportation bill, one way or another, I know it's a big dollar amount, and I'm not going to put any opinions out there, but we do have to do something about transportation. I got a call from ODOT the other day, and we love ODOT. They're a great partner of ours. They're very responsive when I call about road conditions and stuff like that. But he said, John, the way that it is right now, I'm going to have to cut a fairly significant portion in the area. And so, when there is a time when there's a storm that's affecting Highway 97 and Mount Bachelor, we may see a little bit of a lower service level. Because 97 has to come first, and I understand that completely. But in the past, there's been enough resources. Now, I'm hopeful that they're going to fix that before the season comes along. But that's also a concern.
And that is the bill is a funding mechanism to increase revenue for road maintenance.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, and I mean that's an essential corridor to your, and one organization couldn't possibly keep it. I mean, what do we have? 20 miles of road between just Bend and then not to mention the Sun River line as well. So you've probably got 40 miles of road to get to your operation.
Exactly.
And it can be dangerous in bad conditions.
It can be, and it's complicated too because the county owns 45, which takes you down to Sun River. So that's a different organization that runs that part versus the part coming up Century.
And who's responsible for that one?
County.
Oh, so it's and different counties. No.
Deschutes County is responsible for the road to Sun River, but ODOT is a state road.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
that's state responsibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so a little bit of division there. Okay. Well, you've got a lot of variables.
Yeah, for sure.
But so Mount Bachelor is not just a ski resort, right?
Right.
It's a year-round asset. What's ahead for kind of your 4-season use of your amenities?
That's a great question, and it's something we've been getting pretty excited about. So we have camping in our parking lot that we get a fair amount of usage in the winter from our powered spots and some of our non-powered. Not as much as I'd like to see in the summer, and I know that there's a ton of demand for camping out there.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, all the camping spots in the whole Cascade Lakes Highway are full all summer, right?
Yeah, they're all full.
And you've got a perfect base camp for it.
Exactly, and we just haven't been super organized around it. Okay. So that's what we're focusing on for the rest of this summer and into next summer is seeing if we can build critical mass up there because we're not super busy. In the summer. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see more. We have zip line up there, we have mountain biking up there, we have excellent hiking trails, sunset dinners. If you ever get a chance to do that, is just unbelievable.
Taking a chairlift down from Sunset Dinner is pretty cool.
It's phenomenal. And even scenic chair, you can get up there, you can walk around. The weather's cooler than it is down here. It's great, but obviously we're competing against a lot of really cool stuff in town too in the summer, right? I mean, you got the river and mountain biking in town and all of that, and it's great. And I love that. But, there are people looking to camp, and I think we can provide that for them, which then will help us really build our summer business too. I would love to see a little more activity up there in the summer and, maybe turning the Nordic Center into a little bit of a summer hub and rent some paddle boards for people coming down to the lake and stuff like that. And
love it.
Having a little general store in there, think about, we are going to be doing winter tubing over there at some point, but cool. Also like creating some kind of summer winter tubing where you use the snow carpet. Yeah. And you can run tubes down there. Yeah. There's so many things you can do. You can do a ropes course. You can do go-karts. We got that big parking lot. We can do so many different things up there that can become a hub without being an amusement park. I don't want it to be an amusement park. I still want the focus to be outdoor adventures.
Like the summer base camp.
Exactly. And, come up and hike with us and, we can work with some of our other partners on, potential new trails. Yep. And, just getting people to experience it. Because I know once they do, they'll see how awesome it is up there.
I think it's absolutely, I agree. It's underutilized, and I think it's something that we all need to rally around because, we have more tourists than ever. Yep. Trailheads are full. Yep. The Forest Service has put on very strict permits for hiking, and one of my big issues is over the last number of years with those permits, sometimes they sell out and I can't enjoy the Three Sisters Wilderness in my own backyard because they sell out in 30 seconds. And, and I had some heartburn over that. But what I found with that is I started using Bachelor. Right. And all of a sudden I would realize that I could buzz up there, take a lift to halfway, and then do a little quick lap to the summit and back. Yep. And I'm in this beautiful alpine environment, often alone. And I'm like, what an underutilized resource, just for me personally. I'm like, why am I not accessing this more? And I encourage people to not just see it as a ski resort. Right. Because you've got biking from mid-mountain down, but mid-mountain up is endless hiking, right? Yeah.
And
I saw you were developing those trails even more and more, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And we have a shuttle from town, so you can go to the park and ride.
Yep.
You can take your bike up, and if you want, if you're real adventurous, you don't have to take the bus back. There's plenty of trails.
Yeah, there's your shuttle right there.
That'll get you from Bachelor down into town.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and I'm not super hung up on making sure that we're considered a 365-day resort or something like that. But because skiing will always be our primary business, but it's how do we incorporate more of kind of the skiing experience into a year-round type of experience. So, hike to terrain parks are interesting to me. We get a little bit more snowmaking and we can keep that on the mountain longer. That might be something interesting in the summer.
Yeah, and I do appreciate I'm an uphill skier.
Mm-hmm.
I got bored of skiing downhill, so I'm an uphill skier now. Yeah. And I appreciate the way you've integrated that when a lot of mountains have totally shut that down. And I think there's a huge contingent that it's an important part of how they engage with Mount Bachelor, skiing uphill.
It's important for me too, and we put a little bit more rigor around it, but without trying to be suffocating.
Yeah.
Just look, it's free, but we'd like you to have a pass. That way you've at least signed a waiver. You understand our rules, because, all it takes is a few people going in the wrong place, and we might have to do something.
Yeah, because you've got high tension, you've got cables, you've got bombs, you've got all kinds of stuff going on out there.
And the reason why we have the designated routes is because we know that's where you're going to be safest.
Yeah, so you can do what you need to do to make the mountain safe for everybody else, and not have to worry about uphill skiers playing Where's Waldo while you're
but
bottom of the mountain.
I love it. I love that we have that access. I think we have better access than most mountains.
What else would you like to talk about? And what's happening in Mount Bachelor, either existing or aspirational, that you think it would be interesting for people to learn about?
Yeah. I think one thing that we're working on, and I actually just had a call today, is our mountain development plan. So as part of we have a special use permit with the Forest Service. And as part of your special use permit, you have a forest plan, which is essentially your mountain development plan. Yep. And ours was last updated in 2010.
Okay.
And typically, you'll want to keep that fresh about every 10 years or so. So it's been 15 years since that's been updated. There's still a few things on it that probably need a little bit of an adjusting or whatever that we still haven't done. But we are kicking off that process right now. And essentially right now it's a bunch of data and stuff like that. We're going to run capacity analysis and, how many seats we need and, all of that kind of stuff at first.
Yep.
But we will be very involved with the community with this. We want the community to have a voice in what our mountain's going to look like, 10, 15 years from now, because it really is all of our mountain. And the one thing that I was clear with the group that's helping us out with this is that I want to make sure that they have enough in their budget to really overdo community involvement.
So people can have a voice in what the future of Mount Bachelor looks like.
Exactly. And, there will be opportunities for focus groups. There will be opportunities for public comment, all of those kind of things. We don't pretend like we know everything about everything. There's going to be some great ideas that come out of that. But, generally, what we're asking the community is, we have all of these ideas. We want you guys to react to these and tell us what's important to you, as heavy users of the National Forest up there.
So I think that's great. And let's paint that picture a little more specifically for people. As far as use, what does this mean? Lifts, lift placements, villages, hotels, what does that mean?
All of the above. So essentially anything we want to do on Forest Service land, we have to get approval for.
Yep.
And really, it needs to be part of our mountain development plan.
Yep.
So what's going to be in there is any kind of expanded parking that happens up there. Any new buildings.
Yep.
Any lifts, whether they're replacement or new.
Yeah.
Any trail cutting. So there's spots in the northwest pod, for instance, that I think have great bowls in them, but I'd love to see them have a little bit wider runs down at the bottom, because it gets really tight through those trees. And
there are runs, beautiful runs 90% of the way, and then it gets pretty thick. Right
exactly.
At the bottom,
And I want to have that high alpine, forested environment, but I also want to have places that, you know, make it a little bit easier for people to
Yep.
to ski all the way through and to get out. And, you know, again, I think that's probably safer.
Yep.
And, you know, I just think that that's going to greatly increase the experience doing that. You know, we may look at a potential down the road, this isn't anytime soon, but of a new village over east of Cloud Chaser with a road off of the 45 road that goes into there.
So close to Qual Butte type of area.
Yep. And because there's some great beginner terrain that could
Yeah,
be
there's
had
that
over
lower
there.
part of the mountain. There's hundreds and thousands of acres that are underutilized over there.
And that's one of those things where it's like, you know, you want to have it in your plan if you ever want to do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, this plan becomes a wish list, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean we're going to do all of these things, but
Yeah.
it's like, if we had all the money in the world and all the time to do these things, this is all the stuff we'd love to do.
Yeah.
You know, and some of this stuff may happen 2 years from now. Some
Yeah.
of this stuff may happen 15 years from now. Some of it, someone may come in with a much better idea and we just don't do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's pretty exciting to me, and I think it's a pretty exciting opportunity for, you know, those that love Mount Bachelor to get involved.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll be announcing more on kind of how that's going to work,
Yep.
but it's probably like a 2-year process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so my last question was going to be, my hope for the Mountain and Bend is what? But I think it's that, right? It's you're going to go to the community and ask them what their hope is.
Exactly. But, you know, to expand on that, it's really to continue to grow the relationship with the community. You know, I think there was a time when the relationship probably wasn't great.
Yeah.
Between the mountain and the community, and for various reasons, and that don't matter anymore. Because, you know, to me, it's important to me that the community feels like that they have a voice. You know, there's so many people that see me on the mountain or in town that are not afraid to come up and talk to me about things, and I love that.
Yeah.
I really do. I love it, and you know, I'm happy to take positive feedback. I'm happy to take constructive feedback too. I know we're not perfect. And I know we never will be, but I do know that we'll try. And I know that, you know, in my heart and with the entire leadership team at Bachelor, you know, we have the community's best interest in mind. Every decision that we make, it's a filter.
This was presented by the LAD Group at Cascade Hassan Sotheby's International Realty. Whether you're buying, selling, or simply dreaming about your next chapter, we at the LAD Group are here as your housing resource. Visit us at bendpropertysource.com. And until next time, we thank you for tuning in.